Today on the show, we review the Royal Rumble from this past weekend and our thoughts on the WWE NXT. Fuck my ass.
Leave that.
Leave that. It's a call to action, so leave it.
Yep.
Throwing it out there to everybody. If they want, if they're interested, they're interested. If not, they don't want to do it. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I'm editing this one this week, so I'm keeping it.
Today on the show, we review the Royal Rumble from this past weekend, our thoughts on the WWE Netflix deal and the Vince McMahon lawsuit. We have also Fan of the Week and the 3 stars, and the Podski starts now.
The Podski with John Baker. For over 1 year, the revolutionary force in audio entertainment.
Ooh, yeah!
Brother,
Let me talk to you! Freak out, freak out!
I just had an out-of-body experience!
The insane in the membrane!
Brother,
Yeah! And I'm here for only one reason, and that's to take it to the limit, yeah!
somebody stop the damn man!
I'm living on the edge.
Who is your daddy?
Hello and welcome to the Podski. I'm your host, Johnny Bake Show. Joining me ringside, we are co-hosts Teddy Mongoose and Justin Andretti. We are officially on the road to WrestleMania. It is episode 83, and I am so excited. We're finally on the road to WrestleMania, a WrestleMania that we are all three attending this year. So what is going on, guys?
Good, man. Things are good. Busy as always. It's a crazy time of the year for me and the Mongoose. So we're trying to keep our head above water here and get some work done. And it's a freaking 18-hour a day job right now, and it's not fun, but it is what it is.
Sailing the rough seas, brother, but we always make it to shore. Happy to be along for the double R and for all of the other. God only knows what we're going to talk about here with the rest of the week that the E had.
What happened this week?
Oh my gosh. It was
What happened?
it was a terrible week for
I heard it was an amazing week.
well, that's what Triple H said.
Well, isn't he the guy? Why wouldn't I believe everything he tells me?
We need to talk about that press conference at some point here, but for him to come out after that Royal Rumble and say, "Man, I only want to talk about the positives because it was a great week for WWE."
That's what I tell my wife whenever she gets pissed off at me for doing something around the house. I only want to talk about the positives of what I do, not the fact that I leave cups all over the house every night for you to pick up.
I'll tell you what, man, it is a hell of a strategy. It really is. Now, I mean, it was completely tone deaf, and it got him buried by anybody with a keyboard and in the radio show or whatever for 72 hours afterwards. But hell of a try.
He is the last guy that should be acting like he don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah. We're gonna get into that. But yeah, it was an awful week for WWE. It started off really good. It started off really good for them. They announced that Raw is moving from USA Network to Netflix in a gajillion-dollar deal. Basically, Raw is going to be on Netflix for 10 years in a $5 billion deal. They're getting $500 million a year for the rights to be on Netflix. So I know that I instantly got questions. Well, what does this mean for Peacock? The Peacock deal, that's a deal that the network is staying in place in the United States. It's staying in place until March of 2026. So that's
You're talking about the library. It's
the library is not moving to Netflix. It is staying on Peacock. The only thing Peacock is getting is Raw, and they're getting some documentaries that they're going to be putting together in conjunction with their streaming service. So it's insanity the amount of money that they are going to make for 10 years. But
so are the Raw episodes like if are only the live ones going to be on Netflix?
I am unsure of that.
Because if then is it going to go to Peacock then, like, a week later or whatever, like to get posted up, to get uploaded? That was what I didn't understand, like what they were doing with the episodes after they aired live. I didn't know if Netflix was retaining that or if it was going to Peacock.
They always bid out the next day rights. Like Hulu has them right now.
Okay.
To have the next day, but that's expiring very soon. And I don't know if that is something that is rolled into that deal or not. It would only make sense that it would be, being that Netflix is an entire content library and you should be able to scroll through to watch whatever you want to the way that you could with any other show. But I do not know, because I do not know what their approach to actual live television is going to be.
That's what I was going to ask.
Be interesting to see.
I didn't know if you guys had heard anything about what that's supposed to be like, because has Netflix ever had a live event?
The only one that I know that was a live event was the Dave Chappelle stuff, and
those were live.
Yeah, they did one this year. The one that was on New Year's was live. And
I didn't know that.
The live service that they've done so far. So they must feel pretty damn confident that they're going to be able to pull it off. Because
I mean, everybody else figured it out quick. I mean, Apple and Amazon figured it out on the spot. So
yeah,
obviously Netflix should be able to do it too, I would think.
Yeah, the one thing that I found really interesting, and this was because I listened to Dave while I was driving around on Saturday, and he said that the UFC content manager, like data metrics person, they found that 80% of WWE viewers overlap as network subscribers or Netflix subscribers. So they know that the fan base will follow wherever they put Raw, the fan base will follow. They'll figure it out. And they believe that they can add the other 20% that's not on the streaming service. They can add them to the streaming service because it is going to be a cheaper option than what cable already is.
Yeah.
And it's like a really crazy thing to think about as well.
Well, here's the thing. It's a really good business pitch, but it's also incredibly wrong.
Yeah.
Because the WWE audience, I don't think, would follow them for Raw. I think they would follow them for Raw in the library. I think that is a true statement if it's Raw plus the library. I think that there is a certain percentage, and look, man, everybody wants to increase your subscriptions. And the other thing about that is if you're just going to get Netflix to watch one show, obviously you're going to go with the cheap tier, and that's the one that Netflix wants you on anyways, because that's the one with ads. Mm-hmm. So that does make sense, but I don't think 20% is anywhere near realistic, for them to get the entire pie. I think that more realistic is probably like 5%, 6%, something like that.
Yeah.
Now, if they in 2026, when that library deal comes up, and if Netflix is able to add on the library to that, then I think absolutely it could be that and then some. But yeah, it was a very, very clever. You want to talk like smart business thing to put out there, man, like smart business approach. That raised my eyebrows too whenever I heard that. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, so essentially they've basically doubled their money for a yearly basis on Raw. I think that they were sitting around 280 something for the yearly rights, and they're now getting 500 million. And that is insane to think about, the kind of money that they're going to have on tap now. And
the thing about that though is that it is an increase, but that is worldwide.
Yeah.
Like right now they have 280 million or 260 million or whatever a year for Raw, but they also can then subcontract that out to the Asian market, to the Indian market, to the European market, to whatever. And while it might not make up the entire 240 extra billion dollars that they're going to get, the increase would be a little bit deceptive from what I understand there.
Yeah.
Because it's not like those wouldn't have gone up as well. The weird thing about it is they're betting on the market leveling off. They have to be. Mm-hmm. Like if you're willing to commit to 10 years like that, and maybe they end up looking brilliant, and everything starts to maybe level off and even go down. Or, if things go the way that they are, you think about what a dollar is today versus a dollar in 2012, it's pretty different.
Yeah.
And that's the other part, not even only accounting for inflation. What does that look like? And nobody knows, but I think that it's awesome. I do. I think that for them to sort of trailblaze in this way is really cool. I think it's really smart. I think it's triple smart for them to be in or on the service that everybody has, because not everybody had Peacock. Not everybody has ESPN Plus. Everybody has Netflix, man.
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up too. The other thing, darn, I had another point, but it was, man, I think you kind of hit it on the head though, that it's really smart for them to get on the service that everybody had from the beginning. Everybody's had Netflix, and that's just, they're really, oh, that's what it was. In 5 years, Netflix can either re-up and they can extend that 10 years to 15, or like you said, they can scale it back too. So like they could be stuck on a streaming service for 15 years and we don't even know. There's no way that cable's going away. Like people have been saying cable's dead for years, and it's not dead yet. But streaming, no one knows where streaming's going, and it's kind of crazy to like think about that they're going to be on a streaming service for 15 years. Like I can't even think, like the service has changed so dramatically yearly. Like to think about, like, are they going to be a staple in 15 years is crazy.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put a cap on this, is that it is the great unknown. It is exciting. Stock price shot up. I know that was a punch in the gut for somebody on the microphone here. But then didn't that thing just go right back down to normal, huh?
I sold while I was up. I sold while I was up. I know maybe Andretti, he held on.
I held on to it.
Yeah. I sold while I got out. I got back in.
Keep holding probably for a long while now.
Yeah.
But that was fast.
Yeah. The other thing we got to pivot to now is this Vince news. This was the big drop of the week, and I don't think that any of us, I mean, obviously we're not naive to know that like this is after the original news from like 2 years ago, that we're not naive enough to think that there isn't more. And this news, I don't even know where to start with this news. It's so bad, and I couldn't believe what I was reading as it came out. So for those that I don't know if live under a rock or don't know what's going on, there was a lawsuit that was filed against Vince McMahon from a former employee of WWE. She was a part of that initial lawsuit in 2022, and where she was basically given a very good position within the company in exchange for sexual favors. He being Vince, he would pass around photos and videos of her that she did not consent, but he also had trafficked her or in contracts, trafficked her to Vice President John Laurinaitis. She had to sign an NDA at the end of the relationship, and this was, she was promised hush money that was uncovered in that original investigation, I believe. However, Vince stopped paying the hush money, and that is basically why this lawsuit came to light. And it is a 67-page document that starts horrific and gets worse by the sentence. And it's so bad. I could not believe the things that I read on the internet this week, like the things that were in that lawsuit. It's awful.
Look, I mean, I don't know. Everybody else has been beating this to death. I don't know how much time you want to spend on it, but the thing that I would say about all of it is just the fact that people who do these kind of things don't just do it one time. So how many thousands of these are there from 1980 until 2024?
Yeah.
A million? I mean, are there a million of them out there? Like, you don't, this isn't the first rodeo for this. So, there's a big track record here of things that we haven't heard anything about yet. And that's what's really scary about it.
And the worst thing about it is the fact that all of this is contemporary. Like, this isn't something that was dug up from 1998 or even 2005. And we're talking about a man that's in his 70s. And I bring that up specifically because I can name you time after time that I was a bonehead in my teens, in my 20s. I would never do things that I did when I was in my teens. And in my 30s, I would never do things that I did when I was in my 20s. And there's a lot of things that one would do that as you grow up, you say, oh my gosh, that wasn't right, right? Like the way that I treated this person or the way that I acted in this situation or whatever. If you were in your 70s and doing that, wow, right? Like you have, what did you learn? And if you learned anything, was it, I'm unstoppable? Which is probably what the answer is to that.
I was going to say.
And that's the shame of it all, man. The moral of the story here is don't have heroes that you don't know in real life. And also, there's no way that you get to be there. There might be a handful of good millionaires in this world simply because people could have sat on their money and been wise and frugal and all of that. But I think that you'd be hard pressed to find a good-hearted billionaire out there. And this is not that we didn't know that he wasn't a scumbag for years, from everything from, the Stampede dealing to him swiping in on the Black Saturday with the Georgia Championship Wrestling deal. And whenever he sort of went nationwide with all of that, once this became Vince's company, he right away started sort of sticking it to people. And we only ever saw that on the business side. And we chalked it up to him being a savvy businessman. And, at the end of it, we see that maybe he just is a man of low moral fiber. And that's the way that it is. And the most important thing here is this gives a whole lot of context, specifically with the Stephanie deal, because I remember we had no idea what was going on when she all of a sudden went on leave. And then she not only came back, but came back as the CEO and then went radio dark, I'm out of here. And now we know why, because obviously she was hip to the game there.
Yeah.
Well, look, you're almost 40. I'm in my 40s. You might even be 40. I don't even know. But Stephanie and Shane are essentially my age or close to it. And I can't fathom what it would be like to find out that my dad did this as a 75, 80-year-old man. Whenever I have kids old enough to be in college. I mean, can you imagine how bad Shane's kid is getting roasted by the freaking frat boys at Indiana right now for this shit? I mean, I can't even imagine like having to just listen to people make fun of you for your grandfather doing the things that your grandfather did in those text messages, man. It's so embarrassing. And it's so embarrassing right now to just be a fan, because they're, the whole stereotype of wrestling fans is that we're all a bunch of hillbillies and rednecks. And look, we are. I mean, I am. I'm an educated redneck. That's just what it is. But the whole thing is that we're stupid. And how can you believe this thing that is fake? And it's so dumb, right? And there's all this stupid stuff that happens in wrestling. That's the stereotype. The people are uneducated and they're stupid fans, right? And when Vince McMahon comes out on TV and everybody cheers for him like they did whenever he came out that time, and then all this stuff goes on, it just throws more fuel on the fire, man, about how we're all idiots and we're all stupid for being a fan of this stuff. I mean, it's really embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing to be a fan and have the face of the industry, which is what Vince is. It has been for 40, 50 years, to be in this position where he's doing these things. I mean, I don't know how else to say it other than just I really feel for Shane, and I really feel for Stephanie and for their kids, man, because man, this is just it's a level of embarrassment that I can't even imagine what they're going through as the kids of this guy.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I can't imagine being like the people that had to live through it, like the victims. Like that's I don't it's awful. It's horrific. And it's
the thing about it is that it's impossible, speaking about us being, just young middle-aged men, we can't empathize there, right? And to have the universal consensus being this shocking in an age where many things that we have in our mainstream would literally make our grandparents puke is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That like that it's that bad, right? That you can go on to any television show, any movie, anything like that, and the violence and nudity and all the other things that are out there that a couple of generations ago people would have literally burned the house down over, and people are still this shocked and appalled by it. Like that is awful. It is that bad. And the other part, to go back to what Andretti was saying before, I was glad that he brought up the people cheering Vince thing, because how bad does that look now? And how do you think that made him feel in terms of Bulletproof? Because he stepped down what was probably directly related to these allegations. And then he went out there on television and everybody lost their mind for him.
Yeah.
And doing the bow down and everything else. And he got all the adulation and everything. And this is what it was about. This is why he stepped down. And it's embarrassing is probably the best way to put it for us. For other people involved, it's far beyond that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it's from what we can actually feel and what we can. I can't tell you how many times in the last 2 to 3 days I've had conversations with people that know I like wrestling about this.
Yes.
And it's like, what do you say?
Dude, I didn't go.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely terrible.
I didn't go to my in-laws on Sunday because I didn't want anybody to ask me anything about it. And that all my my in-laws, my sister-in-laws, brother-in-laws, all those people, my father-in-law, mother-in-law are all going to be there. And I'm like, you know what? I don't feel good. I'm not going down there because I knew somebody was going to make a comment, and I'm just the type of person, man, who's going to go on the defense is what it is. I can't justify anything, but I'm going to try to defend everybody else, to the point where not everybody is a psychopath. And I'm sure there's thousands of people that work in the WWE that are good people that have no idea about any of this stuff. Stuff happens in other industries. You can't blame everybody for it. Here's the thing, look, there's not parents, okay, right now who are telling their kids, you can't go to Penn State because of what happened with Paterno. Okay. Now maybe that happened when the stuff went down with Paterno where families didn't want their kids to go to play athletics or even go to school at Penn State. Okay. That stuff did blow over. They got rid of all of the psychopaths who were involved in all of that shit. All those people have been removed. They redid the locker room. There's no trace of any of that stuff on that campus at this point. Okay. Everything's been changed. So you have to do that. You have to have a complete restart. You've got to stop acknowledging that Vince was ever a part of this. Don't ever say his name. Don't talk about him. Don't do anything ever again. Just completely distance yourself from it and just learn from it. Move on. Put stuff in place where this kind of things aren't going to happen again. I would be completely shocked if something like that would ever happen again in the WWE. Something like that, where it came out of being a private company. And when you're a private company, man, you can hide in the weeds and you can do whatever the hell you want to do. And this is how this stuff, goes untracked. Whenever there's one guy making all the decisions, right? The one guy is the authority where people are scared to death to even speak up because they're going to lose their job. And that's a big part of it too, man. But you got to understand that even though there's egg on the face of the WWE right now because of there's, a couple jackasses that did these things over the course of time that are horrible, those people are no longer employed. They're gone. All right. So just give them the benefit of a reset. And let's see how this goes. And if they investigate anybody else and kick anybody else out of there, then so be it. But I think that they're going to probably learn a very painful lesson from this. Maybe only from a PR standpoint, but I would be shocked if there is anybody else there right now that is day to day involved in the foolishness that went on with Laurinaitis and with McMahon. I really do. So you gotta give them an opportunity to get through it, and just don't blame everybody there, man. And you can't blame the players at Penn State whenever Sandusky was raping little kids. Okay, you don't blame the kid, you don't blame the players for that. Okay, don't trash the players and the other assistant coaches who might not have known anything, or the other people that work in the athletic office who might not have known anything. All the people who were involved in that covered stuff up are gone. And it's not fair to keep pointing the finger at them at this point. Just let them get to a point where those people can go to work and enjoy their work experience and make a living and do what they want to do, man. Because there's 1,000 people there who had absolutely nothing to do with any of this stuff, man. And it kills me because, everybody gets blamed. Every single person gets blamed, man. And I'm telling you, I haven't talked to any of the talent in the WWE, obviously, but when those people got in a car the next morning to go to work, they were fucking embarrassing themselves for going to work in a place like that, man. And that's not fair to those people that didn't know anything about this for them to get thrown under the bus with these other assholes.
Yeah. So, all right, well, we'll put a bow on that nastiness. And we'll move on to our weekly segment of the week. This is something that we're
pivot.
Dude, I was literally going to say, let's call this segment Hard Pivot. That was on the tip of my tongue. And then there you go. Great minds.
God, we just had a hardcore death match, and now we're going to come out with the Divas. Number one contender match for the Divas are coming out to the ring, and here we go.
Yeah. Really quick though, before we do that.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis. Fuck you both.
You know what's funny about Laurinaitis?
On to the next. Oh, never mind. Here we go. I say that.
John Laurinaitis was a terrible worker and a terrible executive who was a complete asshole to everybody. And I really hope that guy ends up getting in a ton of legal trouble with this, man, and gets in as much trouble as he possibly can, because that guy's a piece of shit.
Yeah. So, all right, well, we are going to do Fan of the Week right now.
Fan of the Week.
This last week, we inducted Ponytail Patterson into the Fan of the Week Hall of Fame. And this week, we have some fresh entries. These will not be in the Hall of Fame. These are going to be just weekly entries here.
They could be down the road.
It could be down the road.
If they end up being Fan of the Year by the end of the year, one of them could be. Who knows?
That is true. I guess I'll kick us off. If you're following along on YouTube, you'll be able to see it on the screen here. But my Fan of the Week is somebody from this weekend's show, and I saw him ringside, and this is Lil Jon Macho Man, because this guy, I don't know if that is Lil Jon. I don't think it is, but it certainly looks damn close to it. And I popped to the moon. I don't know who's better. Is it Macho Man Lil Jon, or is it the guy in the Royal Rumble baseball jersey beside him giving the thumbs down? Can we put both of them in this week?
Well, hell yeah, we can throw as many as we want. I just sent you pictures. That the Little John Macho Man's probably going to win this. It's unbelievable. That guy's outfit's unbelievable. I just sent you two more. So the one I'm going to put in was actually from 2 Dynamites ago, because I was saving it. And I've been calling him the Fundertaker, because he just looks like he's dressed like the Undertaker, but he's fun. He's really fun. He looks like a millennial guy sitting there with a big smile on his face and his Undertaker gear. So we got the Fundertaker that we're going to put in too. And I also sent you a picture of what actually might be the Iron Sheik that is sitting in the crowd. over Adam Copeland's shoulder from last week's Dynamite.
Oh my God.
That dude might actually be the Iron Sheik.
That looks like you doctored that.
I did, and I'm telling you, man, that guy was in the crowd. Because I was laughing the whole show. But I forgot to send that over to you.
That's so great. Is that Arn Anderson in front of him?
I hope so.
Thumbs down?
Dude, you know that's a total that sitting in that Sheik mask that entire time. You think about how uncomfortable you guys were in lucha masks at that Mania show for a couple of hours. Imagine having straight latex covering your face in the front row of a wrestling crowd for a Dynamite taping or whatever that was. That we're talking 4 or 5 hours he's sitting there. I hope he didn't take it off the whole time. I hope he didn't eat. I hope he didn't drink. Probably hardly breathed. Did the Thundertaker? The Thundertaker looks like AJ Styles before he got on the gas.
God.
That's so great.
If you guys go to the chat, the Zoom chat, my pick was from a couple of Dynamites ago. I went with front row Dusty with the Gary Spivey hair.
Oh man, that's really great.
Yeah. It's look, man. I always give a lot of props to people that go in full gimmick to shows. Shouts out to me and Andretti that did that at King of the Ring 2002.
Yeah, I drew a beard on my face in an Ohio restaurant bathroom, and everybody was staring at me the whole time.
with a brown Crayola marker. That was the best part about it, is you scribbled a beard on your face to be the $1 Million Man. But dude, the thing about it is the shirt that Gary Spivey Dusty has on looks like it would be a fat suit shirt, except the size of his head and his chin and everything. Of course, it's not a fat suit, which is what makes it even better. It's just a flesh colored T-shirt underneath the polka dots. But dude, this guy is on elbow pads. He is on wristbands. He's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. Gave everybody the business. He got a couple of shout outs from people, from wrestlers during the matches. So yeah, that's my guy, Gary Spivey Dusty.
So Baker, you're putting all those pictures up, right? You're going to put them all up?
Yeah,
okay.
they're on the screen right now if you're watching.
So I'm gonna say this right now. I know I sent in the chat, in our group chat, that I had a big reveal that I was gonna give you guys the other night, and I just never even acknowledged it ever again. But there actually is something in the works right now for Ponytail Patterson that I have not given you yet. So I'm gonna put this thing together for Ponytail Patterson, and I'll probably do it tonight. Hopefully I'll do it tonight. I'll send it over to you so that whenever you post the show, you can post the induction graphics of Ponytail Patterson going into the Hall of Fame in a very special, kind of funny way.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait. That was great.
Is your shirt saying Houthis? Are you a Houthi rebel? Oh, and Hounds. Okay, I thought it said Houthis.
No.
Are you rooting for the terrorists?
Jeez.
Property of a Houthi XXL athletic department.
Oh my God. Oh my. Well, that was fan of the week. If you have a fan of the week that you want to send it to us on the socials. We at _Podski on Twitter and Instagram, or you can just leave it in the comments below on YouTube. But we also want to do one more thing before we get into this Rumble. We want to do the 3 stars of the week. So I'll let Andretti take it away here on his 3 stars.
So Mongoose had a good idea where he thought we should just do it where it's kind of like the hockey thing, right? Where there's not really in any order. You just kind of give three stars of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just wrote down 3 names. Number 1, it's kind of like, the people that you thought had a good week or been doing good recently that you kind of want to give a shout out to. Adam Page, for me, man, is the guy that I've come full circle on that guy, man. Well, actually, if I came full circle, I'd hate him. So I went 180 degrees. So Adam Page, not 365 or 360.
You'll probably be back to full circle
I will.
here by the time we get to April.
No doubt. There's no doubt. But Hangman Page has been doing a great job. Especially his mic work and his promos have gotten way better, man, over probably the last year or so, maybe even only 6 months. I wanted to give a shout out to that guy because I think he really does deserve it. The second one I had was Samantha Irvin, man. I mean, how awesome is Samantha Irvin right now? I mean, she's so freaking good. Like I am blown away by her. More and more that I even watch WWE, man, the more I'm impressed with her and how much she brings to that whole production.
I'm glad that you brought up Samantha Irvin. That's awesome.
And then the third one I had, and obviously these are in no order, but the third one was Drew McIntyre, man. And McIntyre's another guy that I've really come around, man, a lot over the last couple months with him, and where he's gone so far with that character and how believable he is with it, and he just comes across in such an unbelievable way right now. And this is the best work that guy's ever done, man. And I'm really hoping that he is already secretly re-signed, and that they can run with him for a while, because that guy, to me, might be number one for me right now of everybody.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up. He was gonna make my top 3. He's right on the outside for 3 stars for me. But my 3 stars, I'm glad you said Samantha Irvin, because that fired off a light bulb in my brain. And I got to give some love to the Kevin Dunless WWE production. Since Kevin Dunn has retired, WWE production has went way up. I really like what they did with the shooting the wrestlers as they were coming into the building. That was very sports-like. I like the timer that they had up in the top corner during the Rumble. That was really great. They're not overdoing the camera cuts as much anymore. It's very, very refreshing.
They had a couple hiccups on that first show without him, but since then it's been pretty flawless.
Yeah. My second star is going to go to Kevin Owens. Guy broke his foot 3 weeks ago, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his match here in a second too. But Kevin Owens worked that match with a broken foot. Dude just is put out there all the time and always delivers. And then my third star, I'm going to give it to Cody Rhodes. He went in earlier. I can't wait to talk about that, because Andretti and I, if you are a longtime listener or a first-time listener to the Podski, you know that Andretti and I left WrestleMania Night 2 last year, and while we were in the parking lot on the way back to the hotel, we pretty much booked out the entire year of what we thought was going to happen with this Bloodline Cody Rhodes feud, and we were pretty damn close so far. So we'll get to that at the end of the show. But yeah, there's my 3 stars: Kevin Dunless, WWE production, Kevin Owens, and Cody Rhodes.
Bring her on. I actually had Drew. I had that name written down. I'm not going to change it. And I had Drew because I did not catch Raw yet, but I did get the entire rundown of the CM Punk promo. I saw some of his social media work afterwards, and bless up, man. That stuff's great. So I'm very excited to watch this week's Raw to see the follow-up. But what I did see was him in the Rumble, and the dude has an incredible presence. He's been able to work, for years and years now. He's demonstrated himself as a capable worker in this company, especially since that NXT run, whenever he was the champion there, came up and was sort of lost in the netherworld for a while. Even though he wasn't 3MB anymore, he was still struggling to sort of crack that top tier. He did, but look, dude, the Scotsman with the sword named Sally or Brenda or whatever it was, that'll only take you so far. So him going full like Bret Hart in a way of, I'm the bad guy because I'm just going to tell you everything that's right, like I'm always right, essentially, is really, really cool. For him to have sour grapes, but for them to be legit sour grapes. And he's on the cusp of a mega babyface turn, I think. I really do. And so I wanted him on there. My second one's Braun Breaker, because Braun had his number called, and he didn't just deliver, he over delivered in the Rumble. But before the Rumble, Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin are the most entertaining thing on NXT right now. And that's a show that has Trick and Ilya Dragunov and a bunch of other really talented and entertaining people on it. And Braun and Baron are great together. But Braun looks so impressive right now. When he hits the ropes, he flies a million miles an hour. His power stuff looks great. He carries himself like an actual superstar now, not somebody that's just big and buff and is taught how to be one. And the Rumble performance really sort of put the cherry on top there. And then my last one, and he deserves it, is CM Punk. Because look, brother, he went 7-ish minutes, and it felt like that. Maybe it wasn't, with Cody in that one-on-one at the end, and it wasn't great, but it was actually okay because they just looked gassed, which you want people to be dead tired at the end of a Rumble. And we found out that he didn't look great because he tore his tricep off the bone and still did all of his spots. He turned heel mid-match there, like purposely turned heel, which props, man, that's really good business because Cody's about to go over. So get this guy cheered right now so the crowd isn't split. And the fact that he not only finished the match, but finished with a mini match at the end of that, and then didn't do the Hulk Hogan, I leave the loser, but everybody wants me back. Yeah. He turned himself bad for the crowd in the middle of the match, put Cody over, and good for him, man. I mean, that's true professionalism, and I think that should be commended.
I mean, he's tough, man. He's a tough guy, that's for sure. You can't take that away from him. The fact that he powered through that and did everything that he had to do and performed the way that he did at the end, you got to give him credit for that, man.
Absolutely. But we're here. We're at the main event. We're going to talk.
Hey, so real quick here, Bake, before we jump into that, I just want to say one thing. So, I know obviously Triple H wanted to focus on the positives, and I just want to say one more thing about Raw. I'm not going to give any spoilers, as I know Mongoose hasn't seen it, but that Raw last night was really good, and especially for it being a 3-hour show. Obviously, not all the matches were as good as the other matches. That's you're going to get that every week. But here's the thing: the fact that everything happened, last week, this weekend, leading into that show, and they came out and they hit, I'm going to say it was an A- Raw last night, probably A-. Let's give it an A-. Probably an A- Raw that they came out the gate and hit that last night, man. And that's a testament to people who want to be there and want to be a part of it and want to work hard and want to turn the corner and get away from all this foolishness. And I give them a lot of credit for that, man, because I expected that Raw to be a mess last night. And it was very organized. Everything was good. The segments were good. They did a hell of a job, and hats off to them for pulling that off.
Well, that's sort of a state of the union for the business right now, though, because, you saying that out loud, that makes me think exactly of that, the All Out show, because All In, there's another scuffle, kerfluffle backstage. Punk gets fired, all of that he's supposed to be in Chicago gets fired right before they go to Chicago. And then all of a sudden that roster rallies and has this like insane, B+ show with a C- marquee on it. And it just because everybody in the locker room's a pro, right? And so that's what you have here, is that you had people that were sticking it out and being pros, and that's a really good point to bring up there. And that, again, for the business, that's good. That's good for that as a whole. Two major companies being able to do things like that is really cool.
Yeah. All right, so we're at the main event. We had the Royal Rumble this weekend, and I very much I needed this. I needed this Royal Rumble. It was not only a bad week for WWE, but it was also a bad week for me too. So I was looking forward to lock it, just not thinking at all and just releasing. So it was really good, and I just have some initial reactions. We can do some quick initial reactions. My initial reaction is that there was no big There was no big legend that came in. There wasn't a big surprise in either Royal Rumble, and I liked it. I know that a lot of people were on the internet saying that they hated it. I very much enjoyed it. I think that it speaks volumes to the company right now, where they're at in terms
Well,
of.
let me say this to the people who were complaining about not getting these quote unquote legends. I mean, they brought Jinder Mahal back, who was rusty and has only been gone for a little bit, and Seth Rollins got hurt in the ring. Okay, so if you bring in, look, I'm not even going to say names. I don't even want to give people, bad press when they didn't do anything. But you can't bring in somebody from that freaking, from the new gen era who hasn't worked in 30 years and just to pop the crowd and have them get in there and hurt somebody. Like that's part of the reason why they stopped doing that, because they don't want those people to get hurt and they don't want them to hurt their stars. And I don't fault them for that at all. I mean, there's a place for all those people, but you don't need to bring them into a match where they're running into people's ankles and things like that in the ring with 25 other guys in there with their backs to each other.
Yeah.
You don't want that, man. That's not a good thing.
Yep, totally agree. And then my other initial reaction is that I don't know who is making these entrances anymore. I don't know who's making the music, but I have two things about that. Number one, stop going to Tampa. This is the second time that they've not only WWE, but AEW did that Tampa show. They did that Revolution 2 years ago, and the crowd was dead for everything. And I felt like the crowd was dead for everything. They had no idea who people's entrance music was. And I don't know if that's on the fans or if that's on WWE. I want to say it's on WWE.
But here's the thing, Bake, is that everybody lives there. Everybody lives in Tampa. Everybody lives in Orlando. So it's really easy for the talent and for a lot of the people to get back and forth to that place. And it feels like it's a easy event.
No, I understand that. But God, the fans have been not great in those buildings there.
Well, they ran a baseball stadium. That's part of the reason too. It's when you've got a stadium that's that big, you just don't hear it. You don't hear it the way you would at an arena show, man. It's just the sound is going to be a lot different in a venue that big.
Yeah. But yeah, we only had 4 matches on this show. We had both men's and women's Royal Rumble. We had the Fatal 4-Way for the WWE Championship, and then we had the U.S. title match. And I realized that we never gave any of our picks last week before the show. So I felt like a moron whenever I was like, damn it, we didn't give our picks before the show. So, but yeah, what'd you guys think about this women's?
Just say them now. We know who each other picked, but who did you pick?
Well, my obvious pick for the men's was Cody. And I had Bailey. I don't even know if I said that in the chat, but I thought that it was time for Bailey just based off of her promo that she had on Friday night.
I went with Rhodes and I went with Lynch because I figured I would call their bluff on both, and I got one of them right.
Yeah.
I would pick Lynch and CM Punk because we were all waiting for Cody.
Yeah.
I thought CM Punk would win and then say, screw you, Rollins, I want your title. Like I know that there's this legacy guy, but I want your title, because I think that what that would have done would it like from my, fantasy booking standpoint, to sort of put a shot in the arm. Cody, it's not like Cody's dead. Cody's super over, man. People love Cody, but I mean, for this Cody versus Roman thing, I thought that could have injected a little bit of energy into it, to put a little bit of drama into it, maybe. But hey, man, they were both fine. When you had said about that Bailey promo, I didn't even think about her being competitive in it until I saw that, and that was when I had thought that Bailey was going to be in the top 4, maybe top 2, and that is where she would have got one of the turns from an Asuka, someone like that would have been the thing that splintered them. But the fact that she won, and now we're probably going to get the old Triple H Dave Batista, that's really cool. So I have no problem with that at all. And of course I have no problem with Cody winning.
When she came out,
but really quick before we get into the show, I do have to say, just because it so juxtaposes your thing here, John. I didn't like this show at all.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't. And because you said how much you were enjoying yourself, and I didn't want to be the guy that was just picking a fight with you because I wanted you to, I literally want everybody to enjoy the shows. I just started texting Andretti on the side and I was like, this show sucks. Like, blah, blah, blah. I did say in the group chat at 10:36, bro, this better be a good Rumble because this show is effing turds. And I even liked that last match, which was the Kevin Owens match. My complaints with the show were that the women's Rumble to me was a dud until Jade came in. Now, the last 10 minutes of the women's Rumble was excellent. I'm not going, and that saved it, right? It turned it from a bad Rumble to me to a, not bad Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
The championship match was fine, but and Andretti was the one that was really voicing it all week. We were just wasting 35 minutes, man. We weren't kidding anybody, and that was what was sort of irritating, was that there wasn't any true chance that Roman was going to think about losing, nor did it build anything for a future show or for WrestleMania. You could say that it built Randy Orton, but if Roman doesn't have that title, then okay. Like, I know that match doesn't need a belt, but I don't know. I didn't like that. Whereas last year, at least when Roman wrestled Sami Zayn, or Kevin Owens, excuse me, we got the Sami Zayn match the next month. And then we fought on this show for an hour about Sami should have won. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was really cool. The Logan Paul match with KO was great. And I hated the finish, and I know why the finish happened. I do, but that one hit me the wrong ways. Like, that didn't heel heat me. That just, like, come on, man. Like, we're 2.5 hours into the show and I had to see that brass knuckle thing. And then the men's Rumble was fine. It was fine. I didn't think it was great. And so at the end of the day, for me, I saw a lot of things that I didn't like. I didn't see anything great, and a couple of things that I liked. So I wouldn't call it.
And you spent 5 hours doing it.
Yeah. And so that was where I came from. It was a show. Bricks. Carl's son spent the last hour of the Royal Rumble, until it was Cody and Punk alone, streaming Lakers and Nuggets, or Lakers and Warriors on his phone because they were going to overtime or whatever.
Come on.
That's boy.
Wow.
Well, let's start at the top here. Let's start with the women's Rumble and talk about it and go through it. Baker, go ahead. Start it off. What are your thoughts here about the women's Rumble? Just to just go through the card.
Yeah, I thought that Naomi was a cool surprise. But I think we can all agree, like, I don't need to see her. I thought that the Jordan Grace thing was really cool.
That was awesome. That was really cool. Seriously awesome.
Yeah,
she looked quite natural in that ring. I'll tell you that much.
He really did.
Yeah, her AJ and Randy Orton all trained together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one thing that I have to get on commentary about, because they started talking about a double winner. Pat asked Cole if there was a double winner, and Cole was like, no, there's never been a double winner. Just shit all over that Bret Hart Lex Luger Rumble. Like, are we just, like, forgetting history here now? Are we going back to last week? Are we forgetting another Rumble? I thought that was frustratingly stupid. But my real big thought here is that I didn't think that the women's Rumble really started until Becky got in the ring. And then once Becky got in there, then the Rumble really started. And that was, like, kind of the actual launch point from there. I felt like anything else that happened before that didn't really matter outside of what Jordan Grace did. And she looked really good in there.
I mean, I'm going to say this. You guys both know that I'm a big proponent of women's athletics, women's wrestling, in athletics in general. I don't want to get heat for this, even though I'm going to get heat. I don't think they've got 30 women yet who are superstars to be in a Royal Rumble. I'm not saying go to 20. I'm not saying go to 25, but I don't think they've got 30 really, really good women yet on that roster to have anything more than a pretty good Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to be great, never going to be good. It's never going to be great until they get there. Now they've got people in the pipeline. Now you saw how good Tiffany Stratton looked in that match, man, when she came in. I mean, it's coming. It is coming. There are people coming that are going to they're going to kind of push out some of the ones that are just kind of there, that have been there for a while, that aren't really doing much or don't bring much.
Mm-hmm.
But that to me is what brought it down. It's just the fact that, they've got a couple people that, just because they're in the WWE doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best in the world. And I'll bring this to Mongoose. Do you remember when when Butch Davis took over, or not Butch Davis, who took over the Miami Hurricanes that let that thing go to trash?
Al Coker.
Larry Coker, where you're just putting bodies in Miami Hurricanes uniforms and expecting them to be the number one team in the world, right? That's what it ends up being. So I kind of compare it to that a little bit. Like there's still some people on that main roster that are not really Miami Hurricanes in that era, if that makes sense. But I think it's coming, man. I really do think it's coming, where they're going to have the talent to have a really awesome Royal Rumble in maybe a year or two down the road. But I just don't think they're there yet roster-wise to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, you said that you don't think that they should cut. Now I was might have had me a couple of brewskis or so, watching the show, so I'm feeling myself a little bit. But you and I got into a mini spat about it, because I said cut it to 20.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can.
The optics of it, you're right. But here's the thing: for me, this was 2 straight years where they had incredible finishes for huge Mania matches or angles, and the match to set it up really, really lulled for a while. And that is depth. That is what that is. It's depth. And I won't call out anybody specifically because, look, man, as you said, they're pros, and nobody went in there and mailed it in or anything like that. No. But dude, there were enough botches. There was miscommunication whenever you come in and you're only going to be in the ring for a minute or two. That one time you're off sticks out. It does, because everyone watches you run into the ring. And so when the first 2 things that you do, if something goes bad, that's not any good. Like the Maxine spot was really rough because she didn't miss it once, she missed it twice. And then the other thing that I didn't like about it was that it was too tropish, where Naomi comes back at number 1 and now Naomi's been in the ring for an hour. Yeah. Like it was, of course she's going to be in the ring for an hour, right? Because Vince isn't there. If Vince was there, she might have been thrown out, before number 3 got to the ring. But that's the one thing about the Triple H booking that is the best and the worst thing, is that the predictability is good, because that allows you to get behind people and that allows you to feel like you were right. But when it comes to things like that, I don't like it. And I didn't like that once Nia Jax comes out, man, and we knew she's going to be in it. We know she's going to be featured, but Nia Jax is going to come out and she's going to be Diesel, or she's going to be Kane or whatever. And there were a few of those that were embedded in there, but I will give a lot of credit to Jade for having superstar presence on the biggest scale that you can have, or the biggest stage that you can have. Jade picked up and slammed Nia Jax. Mm-hmm. How strong are you, dude? Like, even if Nia goes up for it, that is insane. And again, the creativity with these finishes the last 2 years in the Women's Rumble are absolutely outstanding. Just when you think that, like, we have seen them all, because we've seen 34 of them, 37 of them, something like that. These last 2 Women's Rumble finishes have been absolutely awesome. And, the tip of the cap to that. But yeah, that depth thing is a real issue. And I do think that you're right that in 2 years, 3 years, we might not be saying that, but it was demonstrated here because some of the stuff that you would expect to see on, like, for example, before I even said it, I want to stop myself. That women's battle royal on NXT 2 weeks ago was crisper than a lot of the first 35 minutes of this women's rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that completely choreographed as opposed to walking through spots before they come out? Yes. And so that does make a difference, but still, you're at, this is the Royal Rumble, man. And yeah, I don't know. That was my 2 cents on it anyway.
So I've got 2 things to piggyback off of what you just said. The first one, I'll start with Cargill because it's been an issue. I from an observational standpoint, it's been an issue where she's, as an athlete, we've all been coaches, we've all been players, we know this. As an athlete, she's not intuitive enough, and her instincts are not quite there where she sees it and goes. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of hesitancy with what she's still doing in the ring. And that's why they, in my opinion, do not put her in the main stage at Mania against Bianca Belair. Don't do it yet. Just save that match a little bit. Put Cargill in there with somebody where she's going to have a 1 minute, 2 minute match, do all the power moves and beat the hell out of somebody and look like $1 million while she's doing it. I mean, just give me that at WrestleMania. Maybe put her in the chamber, okay, and have her where she's only featured, for a few minutes while she's in there. Maybe that's also a good place for it, but there's still athletic hesitancy with what she does in the ring, where she's waiting for other people to react before she reacts. And that's just my critique of her. I love her. She's completely beautiful. She has one of the greatest looks I've ever seen as a pro wrestler in my whole life. And I think the sky is obviously the limit for her. And that kind of leads me into the second thing I wanted to say too. Nia Jax has to be there. She has to be there. She has to be on the roster because they've got a little bit of an issue with Rhea Ripley, because Rhea Ripley is so big physically and so muscular and looks so much bigger than everybody else that's on that roster that she goes into the ring with, that it's almost like a Hogan thing, where Hogan was always the one that was out, scouting his own opponents, man. This guy was out scouting his own opponents, right? Hogan was, to bring in big bodies to feed to him, right? And Rhea Ripley, a little bit of the same issue that they had with Hogan, where they have to have big bodies that are almost either as big as Ripley or bigger than Ripley to feed the Ripley, okay? That's why Nia Jax is so important right now. And the thing with Jade, with Cargill, she's pretty similar, to Rhea Ripley. She fits that big mold where she can compete with that kind of a person. And that's why Camille is another one that they got to sign, because there's only so many of these women out there, man, that are big, athletic, powerful, muscular looking ass kickers that they can bring in to work with Rhea Ripley in a program. So that, you can't keep going to the well with Rhea Ripley versus Candice LeRae or Zelina Vega. We can't do that. She has to beat giants. And that's why they can't miss on those signings. So they've got to close the deal with Camille. They went after Cargill. Jax is the right person for her to be in there with, man. And I know, Jax is aggressive, and she's assertive in the ring, and she's she throws people around, man. And Rhea Ripley's one of the people that can be in the ring with her and deal with that. I think that really is an issue for them. They've got to feed giant bodies to her, man. And that's been the issue with Rhea Ripley, in my opinion.
Well, it's probably why she hasn't had the defenses that we've complained about before. But to when you were just saying about Jade, I don't see her and Bianca at all at WrestleMania for all the reasons that you said. Look, Jade's moveset was still Jade's moveset. It was still pump kick, lariat. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, so she is still wrestling, this basic style.
Well, look, that pump kick looked really good. The pump kick.
Oh, look, it did. It did, but that's the thing is that she's only doing what she can do, which is fine. But that's why if Jade and Nia at Mania does make sense, because then you have Brock and no Moss.
Yeah.
You have the 4 minute.
You mean Ripley and Jax? Is that what, you said Cargill in
No, Mania. I say Jade and Nia.
Well, who's Ripley with then?
Becky, absolutely
Okay,
Becky.
all right.
Yeah, there's no way it can't not be Becky. I feel like.
Okay.
Because if Rhea hasn't wrestled anybody for a year, like if it's Becky or this is very disappointing.
Sure.
Like I think Nia, if she gets Nia, it's at Australia.
Well, that's true. It could happen. But we can move on to this fatal 4-way. I felt like this 4-way, I felt like you've seen them all. And it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, I don't want to say I liked it, but I didn't hate it. But I think that it's still, they're very much keeping it in your mind that every time Roman's in a match, Solo is going to come down and he's going to give somebody the thumb. And that is how Roman is going to win. That's the only way Roman knows how to win. That's the only way he has won. So I think that they're trying to keep that fresh in everybody's mind to expect Solo no matter what. The only thing that I will say that I did like about this match, I liked the stacking that they did, and then Orton kicking out from the bottom. That I thought was creative. I liked that Styles ate the pin. I know that Andretti has thoughts on that, because that guy seems to always lose. But also another thing to add on to Styles is that I'm kind of over the Styles clash. It looks a smidge clunky, especially when you give it to a bigger guy like Roman. I think that we need to pivot sometimes away and just only do the phenomenal forearm. Because the clash looks weird, and you could even tell in Roman's face as he was getting ready to take it, he didn't 100% feel confident in having it on him either. So I don't know. This match, I guess I don't know really what you can say about it other than it was to be expected, and that Roman, there was not a chance that Roman was losing that match. It didn't do anything for the other three guys. Like, what are the other three guys going to do now? Are Styles and LA Knight going to do something together? Is Styles and Orton going to do something together? I don't know. It leaves more things up in the air, and I'm assuming that they'll get figured out at the Chamber.
Yeah, it was what it was, and it was good. Like the work in the match was not perfectly fine. They had some good ideas for near falls. The Orton one where Solo came out, where he RKO'd everybody, that was awesome. That was a really, really good spot. But the thing that stands out to me so big is that not only is it to the point where it went from heat to eye rolls when Solo comes out. The return of Randy Orton, especially, has crippled guys like LA Knight and Solo because they look like yard gnomes.
Yeah.
Like Solo Sikoa is the opposite of physically imposing in a ring standing next to Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
Like next to Cena, it was still okay, but not next to Randy Orton, man. And now that I've seen him just be dwarfed by somebody, it took a lot of luster away, man. It really did. It's not his fault. It's not. But he's been booked. He's been booked to be, again, eye roll instead of crowd heat, because we've now seen this since that show in the Wales or whenever that was. Like, it's been every match. And now the guy that is Roman's lackey, or not even lackey, his heater, feels like a lackey. And I just don't like it. I don't like it at all.
look, I don't dislike AJ Styles, number one. I mean, he's, you know, probably one of the greatest of all time, you know, from his body of work everywhere he's ever been. But I don't want to see that guy in a world title match ever again, unless you're going to put 6 months of a build into him and have him beat everybody. Then that's the only way to do it, man. This guy loses every single match he's in. I like him. I know he's got credibility, but I mean, I think that I went into that match with a bad attitude to begin with, because it's been eating away at me that they have people who are knocking on the door to be main event talent. Mm-hmm. And Knight is one of those people. And here we go. We have to have Lesnar come back for Mania. We've got to have Orton come back. We got to have Styles come back. You're stacking people on top of these guys who are ready to take the next step. And philosophically, I've got a problem with that. If you draft a first round wide receiver who's a surefire starter in the NFL, you don't run out and sign 2 or 3 receivers who are legends and put them on the field ahead of that guy. You would never do that, right? So why do we have to keep going to the past to bring this stuff back, unless it's only to bring them back to feed them to the guys who are ready to take the next step? And we haven't done that yet. So I got a problem with that. I would have rather seen AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns, dude, in that match, and gotten Orton and gotten Knight in the freaking Rumble, or any combination of any of them. I don't care. But I would have rather have gotten a singles match or a 3-way instead of a 4-way match where we took away from the men's Rumble, because I think the men's Rumble needed those people in it.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. Then we had the US title match. This was, for me, I felt like this was match of the night. It really, without this match, this show would feel a little low to probably somebody who's not a Cody Rhodes fan. But I didn't realize, this came out, after the show, that Kevin Owens had a broken foot, and I mentioned him in the 3 stars. That, hats off to that guy for being able to go out there and work with a broken foot. My takeaways from this match, I thought it was a great match, and it's very similar to what we talked about last week with the Rumble 2004 show. With the Shawn and Triple H match, like, this match was really good work, and then they shit all over the finish. How many, like, we've been watching wrestling for how long? Like, over 20 years combined, like, all of us together, like, over 60 years of wrestling watching. And I don't think I can ever remember a time where a referee said, "Oh, hey, match nullified because you're wearing the brass knucks." Like, they did it. I don't understand. That spot, while I don't know. I just don't get it. Like, that was so stupid. Like, now all of a sudden refs are competent and they know everything in the WWE. Like, that just, I didn't like it.
Here's where it gets over, John, is when the ref sees that the heel used it, and when the heel's going for the win.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And so what happens then is he'll DQ the heel, and now we have an easy path to a rematch. Or he'll say, he'll DQ, and the babyface wakes up and says, "Don't take this from me. Don't take this from me. Restart the match." And now we're going crazy, right? Like, that's when it gets over, is that if you see the heel with it, it was weird to see the babyface with it.
Yes.
And then disqualify the babyface. That was it. It's like the War Games with the babyfaces having the advantage. You're now fighting to try to make sense of it, when the thing that makes sense of it is the thing that's always made sense.
Yes.
So that was it. It's just, from a psychological standpoint, didn't like it.
Yeah, thank you for putting the cap on that, because I was not getting to my point, but you dunked it for me. Thank you.
I'm here for you, brother. You throw it up. We do that D Wade Braun up on top. You show that picture up there. Yeah, but dude, this match was really good. And the only complaint that I have is that we still don't know who Jeff is. Now, I did laugh out loud when they said Jeff in a white tee. Like that did make me laugh out loud.
He's been there a couple times, right? He's showed up a couple times already.
Right, he has, but we don't know who Jeff is. I mean, maybe maybe Loganites do, but we don't.
This isn't his first rodeo. He's been there.
Correct. But that did remind me. It triggered my memory when I was running down some things that sort of bugged me about the show. My God, man, I know people are so happy that Pat McAfee's back. And I guess you know what? I guess I am too, that he's back full time. So now he can at least know who the wrestlers are and what their storylines are. Because this dude hasn't watched wrestling since the last time he was at a show. And that was on display, especially during the Rumble matches, man.
Yeah, I love Pat. I do watch Pat's show, but I can only take him in spurts, and I'm in a down spurt right now where I don't care what that guy's doing. I don't want him to talk on a microphone anymore. But
you're gonna get him for 3 hours a week now, brother.
I can't. Oh yeah, thank God.
Look, give him a chance because last night was pretty good.
I know
he's way better than he's been in the past. So just give it a shot. I don't like him either. Even as a West Virginia grad, I don't like McAfee, but just give it a shot. Give it a chance.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on this match, Andretti?
I mean, just the obvious that Logan Paul looks like freaking Shawn Michaels already. It's like, I mean, if we can get this guy full time, man, he's going to be one of the top talents of the decade. If we can get that guy, if we can get him in there full time.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. He's just everything that he does. He's a natural entertainer and he's super athletic. He's probably one of those guys that just is great at everything he tries, man. And I'm, envious of that, of course. But I'm living vicariously through Logan Paul, man. I'm glad he's having a lot of fun and doing what he wants to do and having fun, loving every second of it.
Yeah. Before we go to the Rumble, John, I want to say out loud too, I believe it was Dave that said it, stream of conscious style. So if you listened, you might have missed it because of the 7,000 other words that he said in 90 seconds. But the Paul brothers versus KO and Sammy at Mania, I'm here for.
I'm here for that too.
Like I like that's a Mania match, man. Like a really cool, celebrity, but we got at least one celebrity that can work. And even if Jake can't, at least he is credible throwing punches. Like, if he could throw good worked punches at least, and I think that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. But yeah, the men's Royal Rumble, obviously Cody goes over, first back-to-back winner in 26 years. I was super ecstatic about that. I love that. And, again, there's no legends. I know that a lot of people were upset whenever, Ricochet came out there. Sami Zayn, I didn't have a problem with him being 30. But I didn't really know who to expect. So I don't know. I didn't know who are they going to bring out that's going to be a surprise. I didn't really think anybody was going to be a big surprise, but, Cody coming in at 15 is pretty close to what Andretti and I had thought about was going to happen. We thought he was going to come out at 1. I really, really, really dug the Jimmy and Jay stare down at 1 and 2.
Didn't get enough, dude. Didn't get enough.
Didn't get enough time.
Didn't get enough interaction.
Yeah,
and this is where
that should be the hottest feud and the bloodiest feud going into Mania. And they should open Mania with a freaking death match with the two of those guys. And they should have been killing each other for the last 6 months.
And this is where the crowd hurt, because you had mentioned the crowd before, John, and the crowd was during parts of this match and the women's Rumble were just so dead. And this didn't get that insane reaction that you thought it would. And you know what? I take that back. It didn't come off on TV the way that you thought it would. People were popping for it, but it wasn't the, oh my gosh, kind of reaction that you would get whenever you have this, stare down between two people that you didn't think that you would see in the ring together. Yeah, like I like the booking of it. I just thought that it came off a little flat. Now, these guys can obviously both get on the microphone and work themselves into something awesome over the next 2 months. But yeah, for that being the first one, it didn't excite me to see them again, but that doesn't mean I'm not excited to see them again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Totally makes sense.
And I blame the crowd reaction for a lot of that. Like, cause it didn't give you goosebumps because they weren't screaming, jumping up and down, and again, there was a reaction, but it wasn't, I don't know. I wish that could have been pulled off a little bit better. And it's not anybody's fault other than maybe 70,000 people or whatever that were there.
Yeah.
48,000, whatever it was.
Andretti, what did you think about the Rumble?
I mean, it was about what I expected. I was entertained by it. I thought it was good. I mean, is it the best one I've ever seen? Probably not. Is it the worst? Definitely not. So, I was entertained enough by it. I mean, but again, man, like, people complaining about Ricochet, complaining about whatever, like if they would have brought in, Duke the Dumpster Droese, who would have stepped on Cody Rhodes' ankle accidentally and put him out of Mania, everybody would have said, why the hell did you bring somebody in who hasn't worked in 30 years? Now he hurt one of your guys. So people need to keep that in perspective.
Yeah.
It was good. I thought it was good. I thought the men's rumble was good.
Yeah, no.
It was, and that the final two was the best final two that you could have had, and hats off to that, because you had to be a little sick, right, John? Oh, like you had to be doubting yourself, right? and that's the best part about it. Like, that's what the championship match was missing. Yeah. Is this going to happen? Because that championship match had none of that. And we actually had that there. It's a shame that we didn't get it with a healthy Punk, because it probably would have been a lot better. The only thing that I will knock Punk for, but it got over, it was part of him, turning really heel mid-match, was when he screamed out at the crowd and into the camera, do you think that I'm going to lose my Mania main event or whatever to Dusty's kid? Yeah. I was like, oh, dude, he's losing. Like, I assumed that he wasn't that much of a jerk off to bury a dude like that before he threw him over the top. And the fact that he did get thrown over the top, then that was really, really clever. Like, it was a heavy play.
Was good. It was good that they did it right after he said it. He basically got thrown out right after he said that.
Yes.
So if it would have went for another 10 minutes, that would have been bad.
Yeah, but that was the tell. Is right there. I was like, oh, okay, Cody's winning this thing. Also cool that Cody called out Roman on the turnbuckle. I thought that was a nice little touch. Yeah. So you don't always see that, and I did like that part too. Yeah, dude, the Rumble was perfectly fine, but the thing is, when I say perfectly fine, it wasn't epic, right? And that's it. Is that because we're going, and this is my first Mania, and this is a a decade anniversary Mania. I was really excited for this show, and I think that might have played into sort of my disappointment, is that I was so amped up for it, and things were just so by the books. But that's not a bad thing either. It really isn't, because it's all about setting up WrestleMania. Do you know what I mean? And if we had a really good TV now right after it, and we have a string of good TVs that set up more things, and the Chamber even is a show that's a C+, B-, but it sets up everything for 2 nights of Mania, then at the end of the day, who's going to be mad? Because it ain't going to be the guy that's sitting in the stadium. I will gladly take an underwhelming PLE for an over-the-top WrestleMania. So I keep that perspective too. I'm not down. You know what I'm saying? I'm not feeling like, oh no, what am I doing? Why did I waste my money? I am keeping that perspective. And so I'm optimistic in that way. I'm fingers crossed, man, that they're able to right the ship, because dominoes fell fast here, shook up the card and everything. So it'll be interesting to see how things lie now. Got to put over Baker. Yeah, you know what, John? You did a hell of a
Put him over.
podcast.
Put him
Yeah,
over.
you do a hell of a podcast, man.
Baker, you're awesome, dude. We love you.
You are, dude.
You should have been in my top. If we would have done 4 stars, I was going to go with you as the 4th star.
Absolutely. You are the polar opposite of everybody in the United Kingdom.
And you know,
sucks.
That's exactly right.
But we got to put over Braun Breaker, man. Did it before, but got to say it again. We said in the chat, I hope this is the Brock spot, and it was. And the fact that he went in there and held his own and looked as good as he did and got the reaction that he did and even got eliminated by Dom. Dude, if we have Braun Breaker literally kill Dom to death at Perth, that would be great, dude. Let's do it.
Hey, load the spaceship with the rocket fuel, man. That guy, put it on
I
him, dude.
I do give credit, though, and obviously Brock, we probably won't see Brock for a long, long time, if not ever. But man, was that booking for him great. For him to come in there, have the stare down with Gunther, eliminate some people, and then get eliminated by Dom, which meant that Dom would have written his own death note for then Brock to face Gunther at Mania. That's great booking. It is. And the fact that they have a guy that they can slide into that is even better. So let's do it. Let's see if he can run with the ball, man.
It's not even just that they can slide him in there. It's that this guy's been ready to be slid in there for probably a year. And now, look, I know we were a little down on the heel run. I especially was like, I don't know if I want to see this heel thing with Breaker and NXT, but kudos to that guy, man. I mean, it was just a hell of a run that guy had, as a babyface. And even the heel run was really good too. And then he's had nothing but good matches with everybody. And now this stuff with Baron Corbin that he's doing, it's a little bit of a shame, that we're not going to get to see more of that, because that stuff was excellent on, in NXT. And I don't know what's going to happen tonight, I don't know if there's a Dusty match tonight or whatever for the tag team thing.
Yeah,
but,
it's Trick and Carmelo.
Okay.
All right. So what you would think initially, anyways, would have been that Trick and Carmelo lose, and Carmelo is going to then cost Trick the title, or try to cost Trick the title, and that's what ends up being their deal. But now I wouldn't be surprised. There is actual intrigue in this tag match if it's Braun and Baron versus Trick and Carmelo, because you almost think loser goes to the main roster, right?
Seems like it. I mean, I think 2 of them are going to the main roster.
Yeah. Well, dude, the thing is I heard Brian Alvarez say more than once since the Rumble in this weekend that Trick Williams' reaction on SmackDown did not go unnoticed.
Yeah.
And that's really cool that he was on a pay-per-view go home show and people went crazy for him.
Yeah.
Because not every single WWE fan is an NXT fan.
Right.
And the fact that he got a reaction like that and hasn't been on the show for a while, the way that Carmelo would have been. And you know what? Maybe Carmelo being on the show helped him, because maybe people then started to either go back or just tune in when they wouldn't have. And then you see this great looking, uber athletic, super out of his mind, charismatic guy. And you would have never expected him to show up, and he did, and people went nuts.
Yeah.
So yeah, this NXT show has possible Mania implications on it.
Well, let's talk about that real quick here. So it's coming up this weekend, so we might as well touch on this real quick. So obviously, NXT Vengeance Day is this upcoming Sunday. Their PLE that they run, and it looks like it's a pretty good card. So it looks like it's Tony D'Angelo, Stax Lorenzo, and Adriana Rizzo versus Bronco Nima, Lucian Price, and Jada Parker. Six-person tag team match. The family obviously is great. I know you love D'Angelo and Stax a whole lot, but the girl that's with them, the Rizzo, she I think was if I'm not mistaken, was a big track star in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. So she looks really good in that part with that role with them. So it'll be interesting to see that. And then Nima, out the mud with Jada Parker. That should be a pretty good match. It might be I don't know if that's a pre-show match or if it's going to be on the main card, but that's a pretty good 6-way match to start that show.
Yeah. Yep. And I like anything that gets set up in a restaurant.
Yeah.
So the fact that they stormed in there and said, "Give me the boss" or whatever was cool. All right, John.
I know you and I love the fact that they have murdered people and they're baby.
Yeah. It's that there's nothing better, and got over bigger as baby faces because
over bigger by killing people. Yeah. And then the next match, well, I don't know if it's next match, but the next one we have here, it'll be Corbin Breakker versus the winner of Hayes Williams or the LWO. I don't know how that's going to go down tonight on the NXT show to set up for Sunday, but Corbin Breakker have done an amazing job together. They're kind of, the odd couple that they've got good chemistry, man. And they are really good together. And it's a shame that we're not going to get to see more of that. Okay, so next on the card, North American champion Oba Femi versus Dragon Lee. Oba Femi has looked pretty damn good, man, for being a guy that doesn't have much experience. Big, super powerful, athletic guy. I think he was was he the shot put guy in Alabama? Was that what his background was?
He was a shot putter. John's playing the okie doke. he was the shot putter for sure.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they said, "Hey, let's give you a run and let's go with it." I don't know. This is one that is up in the air too, where I don't know. Do you give him a win over Dragon Lee and then send Dragon Lee to the main?
Dragon Lee booking has been one of the most unpredictable things in NXT history. So,
right, because
I don't know what they're doing with this guy.
Yeah, does he get this title back and then have a run, or is he lose and then stays in the main roster? Because I would be fine with either of those, but I would like them to make their mind up. That would be nice.
Yeah. Then the women's match, Lyra Valkyria versus Roxanne Perez. I know you're a big Perez fan. I don't know which way they're going to go with this either. The Valkyria run has been a little flat. It's gotten better the last couple of weeks, but I think it would probably be better to flip that belt.
Agree, and there's no reason to keep the belt on her. Why? If Perez isn't coming up, then put the belt on Perez just to freshen it up a little bit. Give Valkyria something else to do. Be it this could be something where, she loses and you have some sort of, mild attitude change for some reason or whatever. Somebody makes fun of her for losing, as simple as that is. And then that gives her an angle and something different to do. And the thing with Perez that makes Perez so awesome is that because she's so good while undersized without being completely pint-sized, she is just the best sympathetic babyface when she's getting hammered on. And so they can make somebody else now. You gave Valkyria a run with it, and let's see what else we can do. Now, if Perez is anywhere close to the main roster, then put Lyra over huge. Do it. But if not, I think that it is time to flip it.
I'm assuming, trying to figure out what they're going to do, that maybe Tatum Paxley will accidentally cost Valkyria the match somehow, and then that'll spin off the feud between Valkyria and Paxley, is my guess.
The only thing is that gives me a little bit of pause with the names like Perez, because we've mentioned some of the men. But when we talk about Perez and then Stratton too, is big losses in big matches very well could be a Mania or a SmackDown or a Raw after Mania debut for either of these two.
Sure.
Perez is way more ready than Stratton just in terms of ring work. But man, Stratton carried herself like a superstar in that Rumble. She absolutely belonged. She really did. And she belongs more than some of the other people that are on TV every week and on the main roster now.
That's why I said what I said earlier, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the main event, we got NXT champion Ilya Dragunov versus Trick Williams. I mean, dude, I'm fired up, man. I'm all fired up for this. I'm looking forward to this match so much. I was thinking about it earlier today a little bit. I don't know what they're gonna do here, but both these guys are awesome, man. I mean, you can't make a bad decision with who has the belt coming out of this show on Sunday.
I think that the answer is a rematch. I hate to say that, but I think that this is maybe even a best of 3. And
they fought
your
already. Have they not fought already?
Did they?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Because what I was thinking was like to do a little, almost sort of what they did with Ilya and Carmelo. And if you did it with Trick,
they were set to face each other at New Year's Eve, but the NXT medical team did not clear Dragunov in time for the match.
Yeah, that's why it got pushed to this show. Yes, because they announced it during the show. Like it was like one of the first things that they announced on the show. But if you turn this into a little mini series or just get one return match, it's not like this thing couldn't headline the NXT show Mania weekend.
Mania weekend, yeah, for sure. Well, I'd love to see it. If we can get if we get Williams and Dragunov and stand and deliver when we're live in that crowd, man, I'm going to be all for it.
Yeah. Yep. I'm there. So that's if I was going to pick a winner, I'd pick Trick because he's the hot hand. And probably the move is, if they think Trick's almost main roster ready, maybe the move is put the belt on him, give him a mini run, and then let him and Dragunov kick the hell out of each other at Stand and Deliver, and have Dragunov go over, and then you debut Trick on one of the TVs the week after Mania.
They're both probably ready to go up, is the thing. Is that they're Dragunov's character development, how much more comfortable he's gotten on a mic, and the ring work was always there. That guy's ready to go up right now. And Williams probably is too, man.
Yeah, you're right. The only difference is that Dragunov, as good as he is, which he is great, will not get the reaction that Williams will. Now, long term, Dragunov's the safer bet, just because you don't know how Trick will continue to develop. But it's exciting, man. This brand went from being one where you thought people were going to be ready in a couple of years, and there were some shining stars, but there was a whole lot of people taking a whole lot of lumps, and they have people that are maybe not main event or main roster ready right now, but we're talking are months away instead of years away.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that. It's also cool too, man, because I know you hadn't been able to check out too much of the NXT UK stuff whenever it was still, a thing, but to be able to see all these people not only come to NXT or the main roster and thrive, not only just show up, but also to thrive is really awesome, man. It's really cool to see that. And there's still a lot of that talent that got released who didn't end up coming to the States whenever they shut down NXT UK, that I think is probably gonna be signed back up pretty soon here whenever they do restart the NXT Europe thing. And I'm looking forward to it, man. They did a hell of a job over there. Those shows were good, and now a lot of those people are here and they're doing a great job. So it's really fun to see it.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that was our show today. That was episode 83. Next week we have the Icon series, The Crow. We'll be doing that, and then in 2 weeks we'll be doing the No Way Out 2004 show. So be on the lookout for that, and make sure you hit us up on the socials at @the_Podski on Twitter and Instagram. And with that, we will see you next time on the Podski.